What if your app could plan your day intelligently? Checking the weather, knowing local holidays, converting currency for your travel budget real time, and then asking AI to arrange everything for you. Today I will show you how to build exactly that with MCP, Model Context Protocol. Let's ship a real day planner MCP server you can drop into your project. Welcome back to MaksDevInsights. In this video we will build a Node.js MCP server that exposes 4 tools: weather via Open-Meteo, holiday check via Nager.Date, currency conversion via Frankfurter, AI planner that composes the above and use the LLM provider of your choice. So why MCP and what is exactly MCP? Let me explain. AI apps need safe, reliable access to tools and data across providers. MCP is a standard for connecting AI models to data and tools through consistent protocol. You implement server with tools, any MCP-aware client can use them. Now let's try it out and set up demo project. For the setup you will need Node 18 plus version, NPM, and API keys to LLM you prefer to use. First we need to create folder for our project and then we need to run their npm init. That's done. I call the project day planner MCP demo. Now we need to install all required dependencies. And for today's demo, we're gonna need Model Context Protocol SDK, it's official SDK for MCP. Then we're gonna need Zod for input and output schemas. Pino we're gonna need for logging. And as for HTTP client, we're gonna use UDC. Once we are inside the project, we can update package.json file. So here we can write a description for it. Here we need to specify type module. Then here we specify the entry point to our app, and also I have updated scripts for the app. I just created dev and start scripts, so it's going to be easier to operate with the app. And here you can see the dependencies we have installed, and additionally we will need .env. That's just to manage properly our environment variables. After that, in the root folder, we need to create server.js file, which will contain the main logic of the server. Inside server.js, we need to import server and stdio server transport from Model Context Protocol SDK. Also here we need to import .env, and here we will gonna use it. So we need this .env to further import our environment variables. After that we initialize server, the one we imported here, and here we specify name and version. Then we declare in main function, and here we use stdio server transport and we assign it to the transport variable, and we pass the transport variable to server connect method. And also here we gonna handle errors, so in case if error happen, we gonna log it, but we will do it a bit later. As the next step, we can create LLM client, and for that let's create another file and call it llm.js. In that file we're gonna have LLM client class. In constructor we have base URL, API key, and the model we would like to use. Then we're gonna have 3 functions from env just to get all our required variables for the setup. After that we will have method chat completion and generate day plan. This is going to be the final step where we're going to generate the full day plan. In terms of arguments, here we pass messages and options, and here we pass context and tone, and by default we're going to set it as friendly. Now let's implement them one by one. In that, from env we're gonna get from our environment variables base URL, API key, and model. Also we can have that fallbacks to preferred models. And then we have a check if there is no API key, we have to throw an error. If everything is okay, we have API key, then we call in the new instance of LLM client and we pass that base URL, API key, and model. Then we have chat completion, where we're gonna talk to AI model. So here we need to fire API request, and for that, by the way, we're gonna use fetch from UDC. And as you see here, we fire post request. In that post request, we need to pass that authorization header. It's very important, otherwise it will not work. And here we need to specify bearer, and here we need to pass that API key to the preferred AI model we want to use. In body of that request, we need to pass the model name, messages itself, temperature. So the default is going to be 0.7. It's actually the settings which set how creative model should be for response. And also we can pass max tokens to use, and default value is going to be 1000. In the end, here we also pass the controller signal just to be able to abort the request. Here we handle in case if response is not OK, we're gonna throw an error. The same happens here in case if we have the response but we don't have choices and we don't have message here, so we also gonna throw an error. Otherwise, we gonna return the received content. And in the catch block, we basically have the same, so we just throw an error in case if some error happened. In generate day plan, we define first system prompt, and it's gonna be your helpful day planner assistant. Generate a practical, enjoyable day plan based on the provided context. And here is the context. Keep the plan to 5-7 bullet points maximum, be factual and practical, avoid medical or financial advice, that's important. Consider weather conditions, holidays, and budget constraints. Make suggestions appropriate for the location and date. Here we pass the tone, we want to keep it. Then focus on activities, dining, and local attractions. Consider opening hours and seasonal factors. Do not include personal information or make claims about specific businesses without verification. And then we have defined the user prompt. Please create a day plan for this city and that date. And then we pass the context of weather, holiday, budget, and again we pass that tone. And this tree we're gonna get from the tools I specified in the beginning of the video. We will implement it a bit later. And after that, we provide a practical day plan with 5-7 bullet points. Then we create that messages array, and here we pass two roles, system and user. So we use both of these prompts. And then we fire the chat completion. We pass message, temperature, and max tokens. That's it. We're ready to move forward. Let's continue setting up the project. Let's create SRC folder. And inside, let's create utils folder. And inside there, let's create our logger and HTTP utility. Let's keep it simple. So we have that log function which receives level, message, and data. So here is the entry which we're gonna log, and we will have that console error and then JSON stringify log entry. And then we can use that log in logger mapping. That's it, very simple setup for the logger. And in HTTP utility, I just created fetch with a retry function. I don't wanna go deeply in details, but yeah, simply what it does, it just reruns fetch in case if it is failed, and we have some set max retrials by default. And that will be helpful once we query other external services for data like weather or holidays. After that, we can create another folder, schemas, and inside that folder, we can create file validations.js, and here we will have all our validation schemas. As I mentioned in the beginning, for validation, we're going to use Zod, and here we have 4 schemas for weather, holidays, currency, and LLM plan schema. So for weather, we're going to validate city. For holiday schema, we're going to validate country code and date. For currency, it's going to be amount, from, and to. And then for LLM plan schema, we're gonna have city, country code, date, budget. Inside budget, we're gonna have amount, from, and to, and also we're gonna validate tone. And for the tone, we will have these options: concise, friendly, family, and business. Also, we'll need to create config with the tools file, and here we need to define array of all tools definitions. In our case, it's gonna be get weather, is public holiday, convert currency, and LLM plan day. And we're gonna need it a bit later. And now major part, we need to create API integrations. Let's create new folder APIs, and there we're gonna keep all our APIs requests to the services. Let's start with the weather. Here in the weather request, we're going to use fetch with retry, the one I implemented in utils HTTP, and also, of course, we will need logger. The first thing what we need to do here, we need to define that weather codes, and we have to define the description for this code. So for example, you can see that 0 is a clear sky, 1 is mainly clear, 2 partially cloudy, etc. So there are a lot of codes. And here we have the main function get weather, and we need to pass city to that get weather. So in here we need to do two things. First, we need to get geocode of the city and then request the weather for this geocode. So the first thing what we do, we are getting that geocode from geocoding API Open-Meteo.com. Then in case if there is some error, we're gonna throw the error, but if it is successful, we're gonna get from there latitude, longitude, name, and country. With that too, now we can get weather. So we call API Open-Meteo.com, we call forecast. And the first we specify that latitude and longitude. And here we pass our params. Here is the full query for this request. Once we get the response, then we parse this data in that part. So we get the weather, then we get description using our weather codes, and also we get temperature. And in our response, we return city, country, temperature, description, and coordinates. And in case if some error happened, we throw an error and also we'll log it. Now holidays, that's gonna be more simple one. Here we just need to check if the day is a public holiday. So we need to pass here country code and date itself. So here we gonna query date Nager.Date API v3 public holidays, and here we need to pass year and country code. That API is gonna return us all public holidays per year in specific country. Then in case if we have an error and let's say response status is 404, we return that country not supported by holiday API, and then we return is holiday false, name null, date, country code, and note. And in note we specify that error, that country not supported by holiday API, and also by the end we throw an error. In case if it is successful, we get all holidays, and then we have to go through that holidays and find if our date is there. And then in return object, we have that is holiday boolean value. Then we have name, a date, and country code. And of course, we handle error the same like we handled for weather request. And finally, currencies request. In the beginning of that file, we need to define supported currencies, and it's going to be array of all supported currencies. Then the function itself, it receives amount from and to. So here we're going to call the Frankfurter API, and here is how it looks. So API Frankfurter.app latest amount. So here is going to be the amount we want to convert, and from and to currencies. In case if request fails, we just gonna send the message that currency is not supported by Frankfurter API and throw error. In case if it is successful, then we also check if rates is there and rates for to currency is there. In case if it is not, we throw an error. Otherwise, we get the rate, we get amount, and then we return amount from to rate and converted. Converted is going to be the converted amount. And also the same error handling like we did already for holidays and weather. Now let's create services folder, and here let's create file planner.js. In our plan function, we're going to pass city, country code, date, budget, and tone. The first thing here, we get in all the required variables, and for that we're calling LLM client from env. And then we're trying to get all information for weather, holiday, and currency. For that we have promise all. And in that promise all we pass get weather, his public holiday, and convert currency, the one we just created. Then we need to define some context to LLM, and it's gonna be that. We pass city, date, we pass temperature and description for the weather. We pass whether this day is holiday and also holiday name. And in budget, we're gonna pass amount from to converted amount and rate. And also we define tone. By default, it's set as friendly. And then we call that generate day plan, and we pass context and tone there. And we return the result, the plan which is going to be returned from here. And also we're going to return sources, weather, holiday, and currency. So now we need to go back to server.js file and slightly updated it. In server file, we need to define that set a request handler. Here we have to pass list tools request schema from types from model context protocol. And here we are passing our tool definitions. And that is required by MCP protocol, so all clients are aware which tools are available. And after that, we define the main execution handler, and we call again set request handler, and we pass here call tool request schema, which comes again from types. Here we get from request params arguments and name. Name is the name of the tool which is supposed to use, and then we have switch case. So here we switch in between all our available services. And here we have defined get weather, is public holiday, convert currency, and LLM plan day. And basically here we utilize the schemas, what we have already created, the functions, and then we return the content, which is going to be text. And here we call JSON stringify, and we pass result here. Basically, that's it. Also, we need to update that part and add a logger here. After we updated server.js, we need to go to package.json, and here we need to add extra script. And let's call it inspect, and we need to pass here npx model context protocol inspector. That tool is actually will help us to visually interact with the services we have created. And over there, we can test the setup. And also don't forget to get your environment variables. We will need model name, we will need the provider name and API key. So what we need to do now, we need to start our server. So it is started. We can see the message that day planner MCP server started. And after that, we need to run that inspect. Okay, so inspector is running. Now we need to click that link it generated for us. And here is the thing, MCP inspector version 0.15.0. So here we have some inputs we need to fill in. And also here we need to provide environment variable. So just you need to click that button, add environment variable. And here you can specify, let's say, your LLM key, and here pass the key itself. In terms of transport type, we need to keep default one, and command is a bit tricky one. We need to specify path to our node, and in my case, it's node 21.7.3 version. And the rest of the stuff we don't need to touch. We can run it as it is. And for arguments, we need to specify server.js because it's our entry point. Then let's press connect. So what we see here that it is connected. Now we can press that button, list tools. And here we have our services which we created: get weather, is public holiday, convert currency, and LLM plan day. So let's test them one by one. So now I selected get weather, and here we have another container where we see the get weather tool and also description, and here we have input. That's why we were implementing that validation schemas, just to be sure that user will pass the correct city. Let's try London. Okay, and here is the response. So we can see the result success, and now we see some information here that country is United Kingdom, current temperature, description mainly clear, and coordinates. Now let's try is public holiday. Let's try again Great Britain, and let's try this date. Let's see what it will reply. And we see that is true because it's a Christmas day. Perfect. Now let's try convert currency. Let's try convert currency. Let's specify 100, and here let's type USD to Euro. And here is the reply, amount 100 from USD to Euro. Here is rate. I'm not sure if it is the correct one, but that's what API tells. And converted 100, I think there is some small bug here because it should be different number. But that's okay, it's a minor thing. Now let's go to the main thing, LLM plan day, so it can plan the whole day. So let's type the city London, Great Britain, date let it be Christmas. And now it's time to enter a budget. And as you remember, in our validation schema, we specified that budget is supposed to be an object. So here we need to provide a JSON with this field amount from and to. And from and to it's supposed to be currencies. And on, let it be friendly. Let's try to run it. Okay, we see success here, so let's take a look at the result. Okay, it created a plan, so let's see what it wrote. Here is a cheerful and practical day plan for enjoying Christmas Day in London. Festive breakfast, okay, explore Christmas lights, visit a park, enjoy Christmas Day walk, festive lunch, explore museums, evening relaxation. Okay, and also it provided sources. Perfect, so it works. Yeah, we actually can fine-tune it, make a better plan, so it will tell us the prices and maybe compare some different venues, but still that's good. We built a full MCP day planner, weather, holidays, currency, and an AI planner. Behind the standard tool interface, you can plug in into editors, agents, chat UIs with zero rewiring. One tool layer, many clients. We define tools once and any MCP client can use them without adapters. And what it unlocks. You can think of travel concierge, team scheduler, or personal day coach. With that tools, you can automate a lot of processes, and that is actually in huge demand. And that's it for today. Let me know in the comments if this video was helpful to you and whether it was clear to you. Also, let me know if you want more content related to AI and MCP. Also, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to not miss next DevInsights. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.